Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey people, today we're going to take a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Forged Realms and is from Lone Knight Games. Now if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. You can follow the link in the top corner of your screen as well as down in the description section underneath this video. You don't have to take my word for it. Go there, find out more information, and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, Forged Realms is a tactical, expandable card game. So it's like a collectible card game, but you don't have to worry about randomized booster packs. You and the other player are going to take a deck representing your army. You have two different factions that you'll mix together, or you can play a skirmish game, which I'm going to show you in the preview here. It only has one faction with a smaller deck, but you're going to face off against your opponent. But unlike a lot of other tactical card games or collectible card games where you're putting out troops in separate turns, and then, okay, I have my turn, I put some people out, I attack you, you block, and then you do the exact same thing. Play in this game is going to happen simultaneously. So, that sounds crazy for this type of game, but it's actually very simple. Let me go ahead and show you how the game works, again, with a prototype copy of the game. So I don't have a lot of the different factions here to show you. There's just two different factions, and a lot of the artwork is not final as well, as you'll see. But hopefully it just gives you an indication of what the final game will be like. But please go to the Kickstarter page to see all the different things and expandable packs that you'll be able to get. But let's take a look at it, then we're going to come back, we'll discuss it further. Forged Realms is a competitive, expandable card game for two players. Each player takes control of an army, trying to take out the opposing army within 5 rounds of play. For normal games, called battle games, you'll mix together two factions and can use 2 legendary heroes with a 45-card deck. In skirmish games, which I'll be illustrating here, you have only one faction, 1 hero, and a 35-card deck. Every player starts with 15 health, kept track of here with a 20-sided die. If that health drops to 0, the other player automatically wins in what is called a brutal victory. But many games may also end in a moral victory, where all 5 rounds of the game have passed and whoever has the higher health wins. If both players' health drops to 0 at the same time, it's a tied or contested victory. And if either player tries to draw a card and has no cards left in their deck, the other player automatically wins by attrition. Setup is simple. Shuffle your deck and draw 7 cards as your starting hand. Set your health, and also take 3 gems, which are used to power some of your better cards. Every round of play follows a similar format. At the beginning of a round, you open up a new rank in the battle, which also counts for keeping track of the rounds. Start with a rank 1 token in the first round and put it out between each player. New ranks will open up each round next to the last one in order. Next, you draw 1 card from your deck. Then, there is a simultaneous deployment phase. Each player places a card face down on their own side of the rank token. Unless they have a special ability like Swift or Flanking, you must deploy into the newly opened rank. You may play either a spell or a creature. Creatures have speed ratings indicated by little gem-like divots at the top of the card, an attack rating and a health rating down in the bottom corner of the card. In addition, they'll have their own special effects, including effects that occur immediately when revealed. Legendary heroes have even more pronounced effects and can turn the tide of battle. Spells have varied effects, everything from damaging opposing enemy creatures to healing your own creatures. But regardless, both types of cards may have a gem in the top corner. These are powerful cards that require spending one of those gems from your stock to successfully put it out onto the table. When both players finish deploying, you move on to the scouting phase, where you will each reveal your cards. If your card has a gem, you must pay it now if you want to use it, and if you have any left. You may always choose to not pay for a card and simply discard it. If both players revealed creatures, you compare their speed ratings. Whichever has the higher speed outmaneuvers the opposing creature and immediately deals its damage to the opponent's main health. If the speed was equal, no one gets that hit. And if either player played a spell instead, their speed is automatically 0, and any opposing creature will be unopposed and take their shot. Afterward, the spell effects can be resolved at the same time as when revealed effects, and then discarded. After the first round, when there are previous ranks in the play area, you will then go back through each rank and have the cards that are still there engage, starting with the rank that is next to the newest rank that you've opened. Flip new cards that were deployed with abilities like Swift and Flanking, and then proceed with combat. So for example, if there is a creature unopposed in a previous rank, it deals its damage directly to the opponent. If two creatures are still facing off, they deal their damage to each other, and if any creatures take damage equal to their health, they're discarded. After engagement, do any end-of-turn effects on particular cards, heal any remaining troops back to full, then begin again, placing out a new rank unless you just completed rank 5, in which case the game ends and you determine the winner as I described previously. That is Forged Realms. Well, of course, the most interesting thing about Forged Realms, although not the only interesting thing about it, is that simultaneous tactical deployment of your either creatures or spells. There's a lot of things to unpack there, but first off, merely the fact that you are placing down a card face down, it's almost kind of like the trap card thing from Yu-Gi-Oh! In a good way, though, because you're not really sure what your opponent's putting out there. You can do your best and plan ahead, but right from the get-go, right in round 1, right in rank 1, you are worrying, like, okay, what are they putting out there? Are they going to put out one of their big bombs right off the bat? Because you have access to your 3 gems right from the start of the game. But you only have them for the duration of the game, only those 3 gems. So are you going to spend one of them now in the beginning just to front load a really powerful unit, like even your legendary hero, but knowing that that gives your opponent more time over the course of the next 4 rounds and 4 ranks to take care of that unit pretty handily. But if you underestimate your opponent's eagerness to do that and play something very weak, you could take a huge chunk off. You might lose a huge chunk of your health right off the bat, and you've only got 15 health. So that's the thing about this game, is that there is an urgency to it. There are only 5 rounds, 5 ranks of battles to go through, and you've only got 15 health. There's a lot of things that can mitigate all of these factors, but that's essentially what you're working with, and so you have this urgency to immediately defend yourself, but also immediately strike your opponent as quickly as possible. So playing out fast creatures, but also creatures that can hit hard, is super important. But even if you get the drop on your opponent, they can play spells down, which means if you play a spell, you're giving up on being able to get that free shot in on your opponent in the early deployment, in the scouting phase, but you may have a really powerful effect that might even destroy their creature when they're done. So they're set back now because they got in that hit, but you now have set yourself up better because they can't do anything in that spot anymore. Then the whole fact that after you get past the first rounds, then you have the engagement where once you've gone through multiple ranks, you have to go back and still resolve those, which makes sense thematically. Battles don't just end. Now that the scouting phase is over, now you have to go back, and troops that were previously and are still there duke it out with each other. Your opponent, who you might have outmaneuvered before to get that free shot in, now still has their knight there, and your creature has to deal with it, and they might die. And if they die, now your opponent is going to get free shots on you every engagement phase. So there's a lot of forward thinking that's required here, knowing that if I put someone really weak out here that's fast, just to get a free shot in, what's it going to do for me long term? And that's where special abilities like Swift and Flanking, where you can put more cards out in your back ranks, which you normally wouldn't be able to do. You're usually always progressing forward with the newest ranks. That's why those special abilities are so critical and important, as well as mitigating how you spend your gems and when you do so, and just when you decide to give up on a creature fight just to cast one of your spells. And of course, there's a hand management aspect and everything like that. So I do want to stress that the game is very simple to set up, very simple to learn and to teach to other people, but there's a lot of decisions to be made, and there's a lot of planning to be made during the course of the game. So really, depending on how experienced you are and how experienced the people you're playing with are, it's either going to be a very simple, straightforward game or a very complex strategic game, but in either case, it's going to be a fast one, which is to the game's merit. So if any of that sounds like it interests you, if you love, I didn't even talk about the theme very much. It's a fantasy theme and there'll be different factions of different types of characters. You just saw knights and goblins here, but there'll be lots more to come in the future if the game is supported, and that's where you come in. So if you like all of those different aspects that I talked about, definitely go to the Kickstarter page. It's running right now. You can support the game. You can find out more information about all the different expansions that might be in the works, and hopefully you'll consider backing the project. That is Forged Realms from Lone Knight Games. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting our sponsors. As always, take care. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.